The Acropolis of Mycenae. And we found some kind of book.
Yesterday was different.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's different again.
I think it's a little grasshopper. I've lost it. There it is. Yeah, very well camouflaged.
Despite Jiminy Cricket there being incredibly exciting, I don't believe that was the reason I travelled to the ancient Bronze Age city of Mycenae, so I suppose I'd better tell you a little bit about the place. Myth has it that Mycenae was founded by the demigod Perseus, who after accidentally killing his grandfather, King Acrisius of Argos, fled and searched for a suitable place in which to found a new city. When he reached this hillside, he picked a mushroom and from under it gushed a spring of water. He took this as a divine sign from Daddy Zeus to build Mycenae on this spot. However, Mycenae's most famous king was of course Agamemnon, commander of the Achaeans from Homer's great epic, the Iliad, who after returning home victorious from the 10-year-long Trojan War was subsequently assassinated along with his booty prize, the Trojan princess Cassandra, and the 2 sons that she had borne him. This coming up ahead is the famous Lion's Gate, the main entranceway into the Mycenaean citadel. The Lion's Gate was constructed around 1250 BC and consists of 2 vertical monolithic jambs and the lintel weighing about 12 tons. The relieving triangle is covered by a limestone slab, carved in relief with 2 confronted lionesses, presumably symbolising the power of Mycenae, and between them a column, symbolising a deity or perhaps even the palace. The heads of the heraldic beasts were probably made of steatite and therefore unfortunately no longer exist. This is the Sentry Post of the Lion's Gate, Sentry Post of Mycenae. So you can imagine the sentrymen would be stood in here, and when Agamemnon returned from the Battle of Troy, returning glorious victory, the sentrymen would run up the hill to tell the queen, basically stop shagging his cousin and prepare to kill him. So just so you can imagine it.
Here we are at the foot of the Acropolis. We've got the Lion's Gate, or the back of the Lion's Gate anyway, in the background there. And we're just going to walk down towards the grave circles.
Now we are heading to a rather unique style of graveyard that Mycenae is known for, called a grave circle. I wonder why it's called that. There are grave circles A and B, and this one is grave circle A. It was excavated by Heinrich Schliemann, who I'm going to make a video on in the future, as he's a pretty interesting guy and pretty much started off the whole modern idea of archaeology. He brought to light 6 royal shaft graves containing 17 skeletons of adult men and women and 2 children. The shaft graves were closed with wooden beams and covered with earth, on which was set a stone stele, sometimes bearing relief decorations. Abundant grave goods accompanied the burials, and they date from around 1600 to the early 15th century BC. The most famous find was called by Schliemann the Mask of Agamemnon and was discovered in 1876. It's a funeral mask made of gold and would have been placed over the head just before burial. In a rather poetic notion, Schliemann claimed that as he removed the mask from the skeleton, for a split second he was able to see the clear face of Agamemnon staring back at him before it crumbled into the dust. Now, unfortunately, Schliemann had a bit of a predisposition to the overdramatic. Yet, whether this claim was valid or not, unfortunately, he did get the dates wrong, and the mask is too early to be Agamemnon.
Structures here are the granaries of Mycenae. Obviously behind the fortifications, so that the food was protected in case of a siege.
Inside the gate, on the right, are the ruins of the so-called Granaries, a 3-storey building in the basement of which storage jars containing carbonised grain were found. An interesting point about those fortifications behind that I just mentioned is that during the historical Greek period, it was believed that they must have been built with the aid of Cyclops, the giants with one eye at the centre of their foreheads. This is because they did not believe that ordinary men could have moved such enormous boulders. In this part of the film, you can see the remains of the palace walls and flooring. At the top of the hill stood the palace. Visitors first entered the large court on the west side, of which were the apartments for official guests. The Megaron consisted of a hall with 2 columns in antis, the Prodomos and the Domos, with a monumental hearth surrounded by 4 columns. The walls were decorated with frescoes. This is an artist's representation of what the inside of the palace may have looked like when new.
Here we are at the tomb of Agamemnon, which, I kid you not, was absolutely empty 2 seconds ago, but has now got quite a few people here. And I say tomb of Agamemnon, but is it? It's the right date, so it could be, but no one really knows. Now, as we head into the tomb, you can see the size of this thing. Right up here, you've got the lintel. That is a 20-ton piece of stone. Sat right up there. How the hell did they get that up there? So we'll make our way in, and you can see, get an idea of the scale here. We'll make our way in. Hopefully the camera will adjust, but I only got it 2 days ago, so who knows? Oh, that's all right. That's pretty good. Now in here, look at that. There we go. It's about 15 meters high. 30 rows of stones. If we zoom in. And the king would be laid out on a bed. King Agamemnon would be laid out on the bed here, covered in gold. Got little holes in the stone where little metal figures would be kept. And finally, there's a little tunnel here, which unfortunately we're not allowed to go into. But that is where a lot of the treasure would be kept. And this is a big place. This probably modelled on the Egyptian idea, but it is big. See the entrance there. Okay, so that is the tomb of Agamemnon.
This brings my video on the ancient city of Mycenae to an end. If you would like to see more videos on many different aspects of ancient history, then please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.